That looks like we do. All right. Let's
Hang on. Check my hair. I pulled my hair out about a week out.
Let's see. I gotta just make sure this is right. All right, that's pretty good.
And in such a rush, forgot to wear my bourbon necklace. Oh well.
Well, I don't have a bourbon necklace. So.
I do. I get compliments on it all the time. Right. That's all right. I do have bourbon on the bank, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do, and Jeff has the same shirt.
Yeah, we decided to be triplets, right? When it comes to shirts. Perfect. All right. So I got us working on, let me just make sure we're working on YouTube. Welcome everybody on YouTube Live. I was trying to get myself on it and you guys on it. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, it says we're live. There we go. I just got, let me see. All right. So I could probably just give myself an adjustment of that should work. Just adjust. So I'm just a little bit more in it. Okay, perfect. And I'll quick tell everybody welcome. Hey, Tater Dom, welcome. Hey.
We are wearing the same shirts.
Yes, we are.
Mm-hmm.
So,
can't see mine.
Hey, Walker, can you monitor YouTube tonight? I'm asking one of the guys that's on that watches all the time. I just want him to monitor the comments, and I'll monitor the comments. So one of the cool things now that we got going, we're all good right there, is that I can on Facebook and on YouTube, and we're getting a pretty big following. We're up about 700% viewership on Facebook when we're live, and we're over 1,200% on YouTube. So YouTube has been kind of going really kind of crazy. So a lot more people than normal are listening. So that's kind of cool. But once we get started, I'll monitor some of I'll just keep monitoring the comments. And if anybody has any questions, you guys can answer them, you know.
We hope so.
You know, every year, Amzie, your beard kind of keeps matching the ceiling.
Yeah.
A little bit more every year. I saw the one picture and I'm like, man, you get pretty soon that's just going to be a Santa Claus beard, right?
Yeah. So now you got me wondering, do I paint the ceiling even a brighter white so that the beard looks darker?
Yeah, you just got to get the back hair long so you get the the curls going and everything back there, and you'll have it. You'll have it. But, but it's a spectacular beard, and I would have to say most people that have beards like that, they're not as impressive white. They usually got some kind of staining or whatever, and you just keep it nice and clean.
Well, I have to be a little more careful with the food I order these days. Chili in public or some a meatball sub is kind of iffy. Yeah,
I would say, but it went even with mine, it's iffy and it retains it, but it blends in. You know what I mean? I go the opposite of you. I just keep dyeing it out so that it just keeps staying the same color. But at one point, I'm going to just have to face reality. All right.
So I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, I was going to pick up some malt from Sugar Creek Malts up northwest of Indianapolis for one of the Frankfort Bourbon Society projects. And my dad went with me. We stopped at a little greasy spoon I like called Working Man's Friend in Indianapolis. And I was eating chili, and Dad said, you're dipping your beard in the chili. And I thought I just had a little on there. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. And I get out in the truck after we've left, and I look in the rearview mirror, and from here down, it's orange. There's a straight line, and it's orange. And that's chili. It's not coming out. So the rest of the day, it was just orange from here down. Luckily, those were back in the mask days, so it kind of hid my face a little bit. So,
your dad was trying to help, and you
He did.
just refused, right?
Yeah, you know how kids are.
You know, you can take one of the masks and hook it and go under, and then it'll like pick your beard up.
That's a good idea. Kind of fold it back. Yeah,
it's a good use for all those old masks.
We have to take that idea on Shark Tank, maybe, or something. That's
but just isolated on the bourbon masks you had. No other masks would work. You know what I mean? Because we all have those. I think I've immortalized my Buffalo Trace green mask, which probably didn't work at all, but it was a cool mask. Yep. Anyways, all right. So we're doing good on Facebook. So we're an hour early, so than normal. We usually go 8:30, but that's fine. And so I don't know how many people, but as we go, I think as we get further down, the people that come on normally, but that's all right. So we're ready to go. It's the same format. I'm gonna quick play, start recording for the audio. Everything's hooked up. Everything's working good. I'm not even gonna jinx it, but so once it's like a 30-second spot for Alan Bishop's If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything podcast. And then you'll hear the theme song and we'll get going. We'd love to cover what's new this year and then what you guys think about, all the rules changes. I mean, the laws keep changing and it's more advantageous for the festival. So we want to talk about that. Sound good?
There weren't any new law changes this year, were there?
Well, it's kind of like they really got like last year when it was a change, nobody knew exactly what they could do. They all knew what they wanted to do, and now all the distilleries seem to, based off that, have as far as what they can sell and what they can get for like the festivals. It just seems like they've upped their games, and I don't know what you guys just go by what the rules are, right, of a festival.
Right. And we've been selling bottles, for 3 years. So.
Well, right. I mean, but a lot of distilleries now can sell the bottles too, right? If they are a DSP, they could just.
What I'm saying. So they've been able to do it for 3 years.
Okay.
And this is the 3rd year they've been able to do it.
Okay. So that's perfect. So from what I've been seeing, it just seems like now a lot of times you'll see the reps at there. Are there more people this year participating as far as directly with the distilleries? Do you have more celebrity? Last year, I know Freddie was walking around for most of the whole festival, and the year before, the Buffalo Trace just had like a rep pouring. So it seems like everybody kind of you guys, your popularity seems to, people are tending to do more or in the booths and everything. Has it been like that? Yeah.
Sure.
And then, podcasts and everything. I think that's a strong point. So let's just talk about all the people that are going to be there. All right.
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to get going.
Drinking 30, sipping on some scotch. We get a little wild and it's sure fun to watch. We love what we do, we're drinking every brew. Man with our songs, but we're telling the truth. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, raising hell and making some noise. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We're here to have fun and we hope you enjoy. We're here to have fun.
All right. Welcome back to another podcast of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Tiny here tonight. We have a special podcast coming right. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. And then also we have special guests here tonight. Friends of the podcast, because I think this is the third time that we're doing this. And we have Amzie Wenning. Hey, Amzie. And then,
Hey, Jeff.
and then
Glad to be here.
Great. And then we also have Diane Strong. Woo! The person who, if you've ever been to Bourbon on the Banks, you can tell the whole time you're there, she's holding it together.
I'm trying to.
Well, I've never seen it fall apart. So you're doing a good job. That's for sure. All right. So, we'll just get right into it tonight. I'm excited for this year's festival. The first year you had us down there and we walked around and saw what was going on, and we participated last year. We had an absolute fantastic time. And this year, I just want to quick say, this is our first podcast. We did bring on a new sponsor, and it's Whiskey Thief Distilling. We did this just on Saturday. And so what was exciting about it is that when I was talking to Walter about it, he's like, "Are you coming to the VIP event?" And I'm like, "The VIP event, on Friday night?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I didn't know." He goes, "You're coming. You're our sponsor. I'm sponsoring you. So now you're coming." So I was really excited about that. So, let's talk about you've got the Saturday, which is the actual festival, but let's talk about everything also that leads up to it, and what you guys got to do that, and who's going to be there this year, and if there is anything different, or what kind. It's just always been such a great festival, and when you're walking around, you never know who you're going to see or meet. But let's just get right into that. Whoever wants to take.
Well, if you start with Thursday, we've got the Bourbon Bell, and we've got Heather Wibble. She's teaching a bitters class on the Bourbon Bell. It's a river excursion for 30 people. I think there's 2 tickets left on that. That'll be great. And O.H. Ingram is going to be on there. They'll sample, and then you'll get 2 full cocktails. You'll get her book and a tumbler to take home with you. That's at 2:00 on Thursday. And then Whiskey Thief, like you were talking about, they are throwing the kickoff party out at their distillery. So they'll have live music and fire, games, tastings, the whole 9 yards. It's a good time.
Okay.
Amzie was there last year. I think I was pretty busy that night, but it was a good time, right, Amzie?
Yeah, it was great. Last year was the first time doing the kickoff event. Kind of short notice. The weather was kind of sprinkling rain last year. Still had probably over 100 people, and it was a phenomenal time. Samples, they had their food truck going, their bars, if you want other cocktails or anything like that, fire pit, cornhole, all that stuff. You've been out there. It's a great place to go and spend a few hours. And that's a very good event. If anyone's in town, I definitely recommend they go to it. If they haven't made their plans yet, then plan on going to it.
Yeah. So that's Thursday night, right?
Right.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
Thursday.
Okay.
And then going into Friday, we've got a ton of stuff going on. New this year, we've got a 1 p.m. Bourbon pairing event with Peggy Stevens and Buffalo Trace. And that's at the History Center. They're going to have some food pairings. They're going to walk you through Buffalo Trace, Weller 12, and Stag Junior, I believe. It's going to be a really nice event. I mean, that's Lime Water is going to be doing the catering for that. So it'll be some appetizers. They'll be nice sized appetizers. That's at 1 p.m. And you have just enough time to go home and get dressed up for the Friday VIP, which is at the same facility at 5 p.m. And that's what Whiskey Thief invited you to. They are our sponsor for that again this year. So in the auction, we are going to have the opportunity for you to bid on a barrel pick experience from Whiskey Thief. And then there'll also be one with Four Roses. there's quite a few nice things to bid on in that auction. But it's a sampling event outside in the side patio. It's gorgeous. We'll have about 10 distilleries sampling out there. It's catered for your dinner. It's really a nice event. You'll rub elbows with special people in the industry, and it's a nice intimate kind of time.
Oh, yeah, it's yeah. I remember everybody after last year. The auction did really well, right? If I'm not mistaken, some of the stuff that you guys offer was not stuff that people. It wasn't just like getting a couple bottles of bourbon. There was a lot of fun kind of stuff that you could that was bidding on, and I heard we didn't attend last year, but I heard a lot of good things about it.
Right. So we team up with DFI. They get the proceeds from the auction items, except for the barrel pick that Whiskey Thief is donating. That's the proceeds for that will come to us. And then there's a couple of charities that put their stuff in that auction as well. But there's some nice high-end stuff you can bid on, but there's also a silent auction that goes on, and there'll be a mix of different things, different price tag that you can get your hands on. There's something for everybody, of course.
So also throughout the whole year, you guys are active, especially from when I kind of pay attention. I'm on the list and I see all the stuff you do on Facebook, but you do a lot of stuff for charity. It's I'm always seeing stuff that, Facebook and what you're doing. Talk about that. I mean, it just doesn't stop. It's pretty much throughout the year.
Well, we identify beneficiaries throughout the year. We actually cut the checks usually in very early in the year in January and have a beneficiary event. But we are a nonprofit, so our proceeds we give back to these different charities. Our philosophy is kind of anything that benefits the community or anybody who visits the community. So, and then we also have scholarships, some scholarship funds, and we donate to the White Oak Initiative, which is dedicated to the sustainability of the white oak, which is required for making bourbon, as we all know. So it's very diversified. But yeah, last year we gave back $50,000. The year before we gave back $50,000. So we're really proud of that.
As you should be. I mean, when you think about that, I mean, when you initially were getting ready to do this and early on, I mean, did you think that it would, I mean, it seems like as you keep going further, it stabilizes and you guys are really getting down the, the actual, the motions going through leading up and doing everything. All festivals each one has their own issues or whatever, but at the same time, the experience keeps getting good and better. And then also the people that come through, it just becomes more and more well known. It's like, you hear about it more and it's talked about more, and, talk about, now that you're this far along, what it's like to do it now compared to when you first started.
I'd kind of like to pitch in on this one. Mm-hmm. And I would say, I think first and foremost, Diane mentioned the charitable aspect, and we run a pretty lean operation. Diane is really our only, what I would kind of call full-time employee. And without Diane, we wouldn't even be on here. I don't think the festival would happen. And I think all the other board members would agree with that. What we are trying to do is raise money to give away. And like, at least for me personally, that's my main motivation. The time I spend with Bourbon on the Banks Festival is so that we can raise more money and make a difference in the community. So I like to get that out there. And then I think that's what drives a lot of us. And I think that's part of why we have a successful festival. The demand has gone up, and every year we have set a maximum number of tickets that we want to sell. At the beginning, we didn't want people to have a bad experience because lines were too long, too crowded, or anything like that. And so we slightly increased ticket sales every year, never quite selling out what we were doing, but we were still increasing attendance, by 30+% a year. Last year, I think we decided where we were on tickets for Saturday was 2,000, and that's where we wanted to cap it. And I think we sold out, what, Diane, like the day before or something like that?
We sold out the day of, the actual
The day
day
of,
of.
yeah. And then, this time we sold out of, the Saturday tickets, general admission and everything. I don't know if we still have Twilight tickets, but we sold out, what, a month ago or something like that?
It was the end of July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the demand is there. I think as word gets out, people are talking about the great time they're having at Bourbon on the Banks Festival. And so I think more and more people want to come to it. And also part of that, and it's one of the things Diane's kind of responsible for, is that we send surveys out after the festival to attendees, to vendors, to volunteers, asking, hey, what did you like? What can we improve? And we try to make those changes to make it a better festival every year.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's exactly like you said, last year you sold out the day of, which was just fantastic to sell out. I mean, but then that had to make you feel like that was the right amount of people because then you sold all the tickets. And but this year, the fact that it sold out, end of July instead of the first weekend of October is spectacular for you guys. And it's got to help you, Diane, a little bit, knowing you don't have to deal with ticket sales for the next couple months. You can concentrate on other things because you're always trying to, raising money and ticket sales and all that kind of stuff when you're dealing with it is, there's always work to be done, put it that way. People have questions and, there's so much. And then also, that's part of, selling out is part of getting the revenue so that you have the money to donate and give back to the community. But that's spectacular. And that's kind of what I was leading, to is that people know about it now and people have talked about it. But I'll tell you, like last year, one of the cool things about it, and it's funny because when like being a podcaster and being a vendor at the festival is so different than just enjoying yourself at festivals. It's kind of, now that I've done this for 5 years, and it's actually becoming something that structurally, and then you got to start doing taxes or where you got to like take it seriously. But when you're at a festival, you're trying to obtain the most, we're trying to attain the most content. We want to do shorts. We want to do video, YouTube videos afterwards of the whole festival to count so that we can promote. But you're working so much, so you don't always get to participate. But one of the cool things about the festival last year is that there was a bottle that Bardstown released earlier in the week while we were, and we weren't down in Kentucky yet. So I was bummed out that I wasn't able to get that bottle at the release, and I saw the interview on it and everything, and then there it was at the festival. And it was like, so there's special bottles of bourbon that you can get that you might not be able to get elsewhere, and you guys have that covered, along with tasting pretty much all the different distilleries. How many distilleries do you have this year that are going to be participating? So
the count is up to 85. That actually includes a few breweries and wineries too. So actual distilleries, I would guess it's in the high 70s. Which is fantastic. I mean, I have no problem with you guys having a couple of breweries and wineries from the area because you're promoting the area. Plus, having a beer or a glass of wine isn't quite the same after you've had, 20 samples of bourbon. That becomes a little bit, it can become a little bit overwhelming as far as, I'm not talking about too much bourbon, but just straight bourbon or whatever, the wine or the beer can be a little bit refreshing. And so I always felt that was kind of cool what you guys had there. Plus you have are you having the coffee there again? Yeah, they should be there. Yeah, which that's some fantastic coffee. That helps out later in the day when you're dragging. And then what you got for live music and food trucks, right? Yeah, for sure. We've got the 6 music stations set up throughout the festival, and then we've got the food court. Some different ones coming in this year. We've got a lobster truck coming in, and
Ooh.
Couple, I don't know. There's a couple that are coming back that were big hits, but yeah, Community Q will be there with your favorite stuff and
I
try to
know
have diversified.
I know that the food trucks initially there's always been, but it seems like as we keep year after year that you have more options, like you said, a lot, but there's some more, what would you say, specialized food trucks out there. So, and then as that can go, that just works so well into festivals. And, I used to, when I first started going, I tried to do the dinners and everything and really didn't go by the, food trucks. But after the last couple of years, I kind of look forward to the food trucks. The one year you had the corn, that was pretty cool. He's dipping corn in butter and whatever. And then, you got lots of different things. So, and it is important on an all-day festival to eat. So what's the hours of the Saturday this year?
Early access and special access open up at 1 p.m. General access is at 2. And then the twilight ticket will get you in at 4:00 for the last 2 hours. And we were able to open those up to go over 2,000, only because there are people who are leaving that came in at 1:00. And so we will go over slightly 2,000, but only because of the twilight ticket.
Yeah, and that twilight ticket somewhat makes sense for somebody who wants to come in and just kind of experience what's going on. Plus, I guess you got to tell your vendors to stay right at it for those twilight ticket people, right? All the way till
they stay at it until 6 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, it's as it starts. That is one thing that I've always been impressed with what you guys do. I mean, Saturday check-in and everything, and you get all the stuff there, and then Saturday starts out. But when 6 p.m. hits, that is a fast takedown by everybody. By the time it does, that's when Amzie. That's when you're in your run around with tools and help
Yeah, Eric Northcutt, who is our logistics coordinator, has mastered that art. I think he's been doing it since year 1. And yeah. I think the first year or the second year, it was like 2.5 hours, but he's got it down to something crazy, like 45 minutes. I don't know, but he's good at what he does.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it without him.
Yeah. When you look at it and you look at it when it first opens, to think that you guys get it out, probably everybody breaks down is gone in 2 hours. I mean, that's
less than 2 hours.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, it's just like, you're like, well, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say we brought Eric on as one of our board members too. But he really every year, so he's in charge of setup and tear down and where everyone's placed in the festival. And he really just sees this like a beautiful mind vision of the whole breakdown process and what he can do better next year. And so, he's got different people from different areas going out at certain times to kind of avoid the log jam, and really keeps it going smoothly. And it is, very, very quick now. So.
He was really put to the test this year with space-wise, fitting in everybody that we needed to fit in. We've got some larger tents this year because we offered a premium upgrade to some of the distilleries. So they get a 10 by 20. So, and we have more distilleries than ever. So he really is creative down there. He spends a lot of time in the park this time of year.
Well, I would say, from the past festivals, there was definitely more room, but it's where the room was. A lot of times you tried to keep the people out of the sun. Like there's some areas where the sun would be wide open, where you guys, there wasn't people, the only people you're going to put in there that are the people with tents, because everybody has a tent, but I mean, with big tents, so definitely I could see how you could with organization fit more down there, and it sounds, I mean, well, for the people who have never come to Bourbon on the Banks, it is on the river's edge off of, the embankment from above, right? And it's just kind of like you guys are in a little valley down there from start to finish. You drop down in the park on the one end. The other way you can walk in over the bridge, from the hotel and get in there. But it's definitely leads down, and you're right down there in that little valley or gully or whatever you want to, and it's right on the river. The river offers some, if there's a breeze, it offers some relief to if it's cold, because you can feel a little breeze coming off. That's a little cooler. So, I mean, the space is really kind of cool. It's like your own little space. If people are driving by and don't know it's there, they could miss it. It's down there. It's funny because until you've gone, you're not even really aware of that park down there, and you just kind of drive by it a million times. So, and it's, right off the main road that leads to Buffalo Trace. So it's a cool event. And so you've got your Friday night. Now, do you have anything for Sunday, or is that?
Well, we're not done with Friday.
Okay.
We also have our free family event. The Bourbon Street on Broadway is downtown from 6 until 9:30, and that's a free credit union sponsors that every year. And that is, have you been to that? It's
the which one?
It's like the Bourbon Street on Broadway.
Yeah, the festival. Yeah, last year we were on Friday night. We were walking around, and they're going to all the different places. I think we ran into Matt from Augusta, and all the bars were all open, and it's fantastic.
It's set up. We've got the circus there. We've got street performers, demon statues.
Yeah, I saw the fire.
Fire performers.
Yep.
We've got a gal, Danny Green, who does live paintings. This year I've got a guy doing caricatures, and there was a balloon guy. I mean, it's all of that stuff is free. So kids can come, and then there's set up on the lawn is a bunch of nonprofits in the area. They set up for kids, and they have all kinds of free activities for kids to do there. So families don't have to spend any money to have a good time at that event. But there's food trucks there. You can get a drink in the bar and walk around. It's a fun event for adults and kids.
Yeah, if anybody knows Frankfort, it's just in that one section where both sides, where it's almost like the street is almost like an alley kind of, because both sides has restaurants. And when you close that off, it really does feel like a block party. But it's not it's not a busy street feeling. Like you get that outdoor seating feeling. And I think there's lights over the top of the street in that area, right?
No.
Street
Well, I mean,
lights.
there's street lights all through it. And then it's on Broadway and St. Clair. St. Clair is what you're thinking of.
Okay.
And then we've got a costume contest this year too, so we're really hoping people will step it up and dress up for that event this year. And there's cash prizes.
What kind of costume?
The theme is fantasy. So I was trying to open it up to almost anything goes kind of thing. And I wanted kids to be able to wear their Halloween costumes early if they want, another opportunity to wear a Halloween costume. So I think
it's time for me to break out my wizard costume, maybe.
Yes, that would be perfect. That'd be perfect. And then we also have the Four Roses pub stroll going on. So mom or whoever and the kids are having a good time, the parents can be doing the pub stroll. We've got all these downtown restaurants and bars that are involved with that, and Four Roses is sponsoring it. So you just get your mixed cocktail in each one. I've got a little passport, so you can get that checked off. And if you get at least 6 of them checked off, you leave it at the bar at the end of the night. You'll have chances to win tickets to the event next year. So
that's cool. Yeah. Definitely.
And something else to mention there is that Frankfort has this new downtown area called the Mixed District. So you go into a bar, you get those drinks, they put it in a special cup, and you can't actually leave with them and wander around for all the other festivities.
So what would you say? Now, could you have done that in the past, or is that something new this year? Walking.
Oh, we've had that for 3 years, I think.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So
Yeah.
that
So that's
sorry.
I would say that's not only during the festival. So anytime, within the bounds of this downtown area, that's pretty sizable. You
Yeah.
can actually get your drinks to go, and they put it in a special cup that has
doesn't
mixed district on it.
that doesn't break.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Of course, the festival has its own permit. So, I mean, you can
Mhm.
buy from a vendor on the street and walk around with that,
Yeah.
a beer can during the festival,
Okay.
as long as you stay within the festival, boundaries.
Mhm.
So you actually have a lot of opportunities to walk around with alcohol is all we're trying to put out there. Welcome to
Perfect.
Frankfort.
Well, yeah, that's the friendliness of it, and this is an event that is going to. You already know it's going to be well attended. We this year were smart, and we're actually staying about a block away on the river. That's where we got our Airbnb instead of a 15-minute drive to Lawrenceburg like we did last year. But it's going to be pretty cool. We're excited to be a part of it. So that's your Friday, correct? Then and all the vendors set up also that day, and then Saturday you open up at 1:00 for the special and then it starts at 2 for general admission. So if you buy a general admission ticket, what do you all get? I mean, from start to finish, what's available to everybody? What would you suggest are some of the cool things they got to make sure that they attend at the festival?
Well, you get your sample glass and you get your wristband, and you basically head up over the flood wall, and then you look down, and it's like there's tents lined up along the river, and you can sample to your heart's content. Obviously, they will not be serving people who are drunk or visibly, had too much, but you can sample from any of the 85 vendors that are there. And we also have about 20 merchants that all sell different types of bourbon type things. You've got the food truck. We have plentiful water in there, not only bottles of water, but we've got the water monsters where you can refill your water bottle. The designated drivers, we do have a designated driver ticket. There are some non-alcoholic drinks that are out there for them along the way as well. And there's, that music in the background. You just kind of stroll along the river. More than anything, there's just a lot of conversating with the distilleries and learning about their product. We've got the bourbon societies that are there. They've all got little lounges, and they've got some experiences where you can, different things that they're having, like an interactive experience with attendees, some sort of teaching, I think it's Lexington or Louisville. They bring all the little vials, and they teach you how to nose and all this stuff. And bourbon women will be there. Whiskey chicks will be there set up. So you have a lot of these different industry entities that are there to talk about what they can offer you, but also having an interactive experience. And then Chad and Sarah are going to be there. I think they're doing something special. I can't remember what they said that they were going to do, but they always have a great turnout. People come to see them. And of course, you guys are coming back, right?
Yes, we are coming back.
Bourbon Road will be there. And it's just, there's just so many people to talk to and things to see. And Amzie, what do you think? What I missed?
Well, I think the one thing you missed was when you come in at the top of the flood wall there and get your glass and look down on the festival. You left out the angelic noises.
No, I did.
The angelic. Did okay.
I went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. I think another thing, if you haven't been there, is, Jeff, you kind of talked about the park, Riverview Park. On one side, it's the flood wall, so you don't really even see the town. You see kind of the grass from that, and then the river and the trees along the river. And it's along this path along the river, so it's a beautiful setting. What I would say is probably don't don't just come in and start and try and hit every place, because
please
you're
don't.
not going to be able to do that.
Do
So,
not do that.
Eric at some point will have the list of the distilleries, where they're at. So I would say, for one, look at distilleries you're excited about. Maybe there's a distillery who you haven't tried their stuff, and you want to do that, because that's kind of what I do. Every year there's this part of my mind that tells me I should step down from the board so that I can just go and enjoy this festival because it looks like so much fun. And then usually at the end, I'll get a little bit of time to kind of run around and try some things. And, I think like last year I tried a sweet potato moonshine from the place in, I think they're down in Winchester. I can't remember their name right now. They changed their name, I think, so I don't remember it. But, just a few places I had never had their product. Or maybe I knew a place had a new product. So maybe it was like, Bluegrass Distillers out of Lexington. Hey, do they have their blue corn bourbon? So I could go try that. So that's kind of one thing I would do is look on the list, try and find some things you haven't had, but you've heard about them and you want to go try them. With a lot of these places being smaller craft distilleries, you got the chance to go talk to them. Maybe the distiller's there. If not, probably at least someone who helps is going to be there. And you can ask questions, why'd you make this? Why'd you do it this way? Why didn't you do it that way? And I think that's something that makes the festival a little bit different. It's a little more personal, a little more intimate kind of. And that's kind of how we want to try and keep it. So I think that's part of the limited sales too.
Yeah, I think we are the one podcast that actually does podcasts that day. So we will be podcasting right from the festival, which we had I believe we did 3. Stephen Fonte. We also had Royce Neely, and then also we had Greg from Lawrenceburg, and so we're set up to podcast, so we can give people a live podcast feeling of the festival. For Chad, what Chad and Sarah do is fantastic, which they're doing, and what Bourbon Pursuit was there, capturing what the essence of the festival. But Chad and Sarah, their booth is amazing. I mean, their merchandise, they've always been so good at it, but it's all right there for you. I mean, half the time when they're talking to you, they're like selling t-shirts and sweatshirts, and it's just like they know that they got a stock up on that one. I love how everything they do as far as their YouTube channel and whatnot. But what I will say to everybody is there's a couple that I agree with what you're saying, Amzie. But when you're going through, the first thing I would do is take a quick shot up and back and see if any of the places are having some special releases, because it takes it with the length of the festival for that to go around. It takes a little bit of time if somebody has a special release for everybody to kind of get the buzz that special release is happening. Unlike some other when you're going, everybody knows where the special, nobody really knows that. And then check out, while you're checking that out, see if you see the familiar people in the industry. So make a note of that, of where to go back, so you can talk, like, just if the distiller's there, or somebody that's part of a tour guide, or someone like that you make note. I made note of that. And then the last thing I did was made note of all the bourbons. I mean, you have 70 some different distilleries. Make note of what you never tasted, because that's what these kind of festivals are for. Get a chance to taste something that you've seen on the shelf 20 times. You have no idea what it is, and grab a taste of it to see if you like it. And then if you want to buy it in the future, I mean, I really think that is a strong point of a festival, to be able to sample stuff that you're not going to buy. And, and that, even from a podcaster's point of view, that for me kind of spells out which direction I want to go in the future, and who I want to talk to, and that type thing.
A couple other little tidbits there. Everybody kind of comes in at the same place, gets really crowded. Little secret tip: maybe walk past all that, go to the far end, and work your way back. Also, we do have out-of-state distilleries sampling and
Yes, you
selling
do.
there. But the way we get around that is they will be set up with Capital Cellars, a local liquor store. That liquor store gets their product in. They're all at the same place sampling, but the reps from those distilleries are there. If you like something, then you kind of go to the checkout area that Capital Cellars provides, and you can buy the out-of-state stuff as well. And then also some special bottles to look out for this year. We are going to have some barrel picks. What we'll be doing this year, in the past, we have actually sold those. I don't want to stand there and sell bottles the whole time. So what we're going to do is the distilleries that are participating with single barrel picks, they will be selling them and then giving a portion of the proceeds back to the festival.
So unlike the past 2 years when you were standing there and selling and handing out them, you won't have to do that now.
Correct.
Well, that'll help you. That'll help you walk around the festival a little bit easier.
Well, it will, but I'll probably be spending more time at the Frankfort Bourbon Society booth.
Or helping out.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of things you can help with right now. He
So
won't
a
be
couple-
sitting down.
a couple things about the barrel picks, though. So we'll be doing one with Dark Arts Whiskey House, Macaulay Minton, down there in Lexington. That's actually what I'm drinking, one of his right now. So Macaulay originally was at Wilderness Trail from early on. He was their single barrel curator, kind of stepped out on his own, does some really amazing stuff. Sourced products, a lot of different finishes. We're actually going down this Friday to come up with the blend of his that we'll be selling. If people haven't had Dark Arts, it's amazing stuff.
I think
I don't know what blend we'll have there yet.
Actually, you show that, and I actually have the same one.
Same things at the French oak finish.
Yep.
Yeah. He does it very well. He also has various things going in just about every type of barrel you can imagine. So looking forward to see what we come up with there.
I like to. I refer to Macaulay as the Jim Morrison of whiskey.
He probably likes that.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
He does everything from Amberana finish to various types of oak, Madeira, ports. I mean, just everything. So, like I said, I want to kind of see. Hopefully, he's got some ideas on the blend he wants to do, and I'm excited to see what happens.
So if you're going to do a blend, does that mean you're going to have? So it's not going to be a single barrel. So there'll be a lot more bottles available, correct?
Yeah, it depends on how much he brings. He can always sell that by other means, or we could also.
Well, I've been.
We blend 3 barrels together. We may blend a third of each, and then he does something else with the others. I really don't know yet.
All I know is going to festivals like New Orleans, Bourbon on the Banks, Kentucky Bourbon Festival. I don't see a downside for a distillery at all, especially if they have a gift shop that they can sell out of. If they don't sell part of the barrel, to go put it in their gift shop as Bourbon on the Banks pick, while the hundreds of thousands of people going through their distillery see it, they're going to buy that because it's specific for a festival. And that's one thing that I've always tried to explain to everybody. When you have a pick for a festival, that this place is putting this pick out so that all these new people who try what they're drinking, you know what I mean? They walk by, they try it. They're going to be putting it's not just like a random single barrel that they had you guys choose from and you do the barrel pick. They're putting out their best. And then you're choosing from their best because they want you to like what you're tasting and go from there. And people, so, it's a win-win when you go to a festival. I mean, and in your guys' festival, you have been doing a fantastic job, from the start. And it was a great idea. And it's so much fun to watch you guys it become envisioned by you, and then just doing, small tweaks here or there. but the hardest part, I guess, now is so many people want to participate. And at first you had enough room. You're just, talking about, well, we just had a couple more tents and we got enough. And now you're, that space is probably this year pretty good filled up, and you had to kind of logistically put everybody in spaces, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the other thing, at least, as we work into this kind of new way of doing single barrels, we're going to kind of limit, and then we'll kind of promote those, and we'll probably expand the single barrel offerings too as we go forward. A couple others we're going to do though, Peerless. So John Wadle up there, their single barrel curator and blender. It's kind of funny what I have from him. So the last single barrel I got there, I finished it off, I don't know, a week or two ago. So I have a sample that I pulled there from Peerless. But Peerless, man, they have come a long way. Their stuff now, like I think the sample I've got is 6.5 years. That'd be over a 7-year-old barrel now. They just actually, no, I lied. This was a little over 7 when I filled this one, almost 7.5 years. Their stuff is phenomenal. So I'm really excited about doing a pick with Peerless. You talked about Lawrenceburg Bourbon Company earlier. I think we're going to do a single barrel pick of their high wheat rye whiskey, which is kind of a unique mash bill. So it's wheat and rye. Really love it. Looking forward to doing that one. So going to be some interesting barrel picks we're going to have available for the festival.
Well, do you have a barrel pick for Whiskey Thief too?
Well, no. So Whiskey Thief, they're on as the sponsor for Friday, and they are offering, the barrel pick experience that you can buy at the auction. Now, what they're going to do at their booth on Saturday, for anyone who's been to Whiskey Thief, when you go visit, they have like 5 barrels laid out. The barrel tenders, the tour guides are there with a copper Whiskey Thief, pulling directly from those barrels. If you like one, you can fill it. When they empty a barrel, they roll that out, roll in a new barrel. So they're going to have a couple barrels at the festival. So they will be giving you your sample straight from the barrel like they normally do. And I think they're going to have some pre-filled bottles from each one of those barrels.
Okay.
So a way for you to kind of do your own little single barrel pick that way.
So you're just basically bringing that experience right there. And then it's ready to go because it's from that barrel if you want to buy something from it and you like what you're tasting. That's one of the reasons why I was so excited for talking with Walter and then, all the people I know there, that they wanted to sponsor the podcast. And I think, I absolutely love that place. I think it's an experience unlike any other. What's the coolest thing for Frankfort is it's 10 minutes from Buffalo Trace. You get off and you go one way, you go to Buffalo Trace. The other way, you go to Whiskey Thief. Either way, you're right there. You could do both of them with no problem. And each one is such a different experience. Whiskey Thief is unlike any experience out there. Nobody's copied it yet, and
I think there may be a few out there doing some pretty similar things now.
Well, similar,
but I think they were the first.
But not the whole barrel, not the whole business plan. That's what I'm saying. The experience is that's their business. There's a lot of places you can go on barrel picks and you can do buy the barrel pick experience, but usually it's not $30. It's a lot more than that. But that's just the whole thing, and it's laid out. Now, you guys are going to obviously have Old Louisville there, I can imagine. And Amin does a nice job back there, but still not quite the same, and it's just it's a lot of fun. There's no doubt about it. But
I think, and the other thing there, as we mentioned earlier for the Thursday night kickoff, you go there any day. If it's cool, they have the fire pit. They've got all the outside chairs and tables
on a farm,
cornhole. Yeah, and you see people go there on a Wednesday and stay for a few hours. It's a beautiful place. The corn that they've planted all around it. There are cows in those fields.
It's a good
Yeah,
place to
it's
go
a-
hang out with
it is.
friends. I mean, it's like going to your friend's backyard. You know, and with the food trucks that they've added, you know, it's like going to a barbecue in the backyard. You can go out out in the back and smoke some cigars, sit back, you know, keep sipping. It's just a great experience, and we've done it a lot. So to now know that we're doing it and we're going to support and promote it, I'm super excited, and it's one thing that you guys got there. I'm glad that I live in Canton because that just keeps me under control. I mean, almost every time that we're going down, I want to go there. So, but
No, another thing I would say is just Frankfort as sort of a base of operations. It's a good place to come to because honestly, you're 15 minutes from, you know, I mean, you're basically right there at Buffalo Trace, but you're 15 minutes from Whiskey Thief or Wild Turkey or Lawrenceburg Bourbon Company or Four Roses or Woodford Reserve or Castle and Key or Glens Creek Distillery. So many in such a small area. Some other new ones that'll be coming up too, you know, down towards Georgetown, 15-20 minute drive down there. New distillery going in down there called Limestone Farms. And then they are actually, like I said, they're fairly new on the block. They've got some really great stuff though, and they are actually our title sponsor for the event this year.
So they'll be there.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Like I said, then you get to taste the stuff of all the new things. I mean, you know, Denny and Jane are building, you know, I can't wait till they start distilling, but you know, when you're building a distillery, that's a whole different thing. And as a podcast, we've gone along with some of the distillers, Log Still, Luca Mariano, and then up here, Middle West Spirits. I believe they participate. Do they?
Middle West. Yeah.
That's an Ohio base that, I mean, if you guys don't know Ryan, he basically built Jim Beam in Ohio. I mean, it's that big of a distillery. He bought, and then he put in a 53-inch column, but he built a space for another one and put the order in right away. So they're going to be having, you know, okay. See you, Roxy. Have fun.
Yeah, I didn't know about their larger distillery until I was up there. Destiny, my wife, had a continuing education in Columbus, and I went on a tour at Middle West's there in town, and the tour guide mentioned the new larger distillery.
So you haven't? Have you been out there yet?
No, not to the new one.
It's draw job. I mean, just not. I can't believe he put that. That in Ohio we now have that, and then that experience is gonna. He's building a village, and he's in the He's now finally. I think he got up and he's really running, and I'm supposed to go see him. I saw him in the spring, and it was up and running. But you know, there's so many different things when you're dealing with the automation of that many, you know, pressurized hoses and whatever. It just. I knew that the size of it was going to take a while, but now he's up and running. But it's just it's unbelievable. I mean, it's just it's bigger than Buffalo Trace.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So when you go, and so he's going to have restaurants, a burger place, a pizza joint, a fine dining. He's going to have shops, and you know, he's going to have like candy stores and shops to go shop. It's just a whole thing, you know, experience. And he's got you know, he's good. He even changed the angle of his cookers so that he could do bourbon and single malt, because he has such a problem doing single malt at the original distillery. He kind of did some fixes, so there's just so much going into it. But it
actually sounds a lot like Limestone Farms.
Yeah,
you know, some of these startups are kind of small, but Limestone Farms, they've got the entire farm. It's all being built out right now. They're gonna start with a visitor center. They're gonna get 4 gigantic pot stills. They'll be the second largest pot stiller. They're putting in a hotel, restaurant. They have gigantic plans, a lot like that, and that's right in Scott County, up the interstate from us. They'll be the only distillery in Scott County. All I
can say is, lately, like the last year and a half, holy crap, I would swear, but I'm not going to swear. But it's unbelievable the amount of whiskey that is going to be generated coming up in like 25, 26 with all these distilleries. And these distilleries aren't small. And, you know, I see in the industry, as Heaven Hill was pointing out there, you know, they just put in a brand new distillery and then they're like, well, we're not going to hire anybody else. We're just going to use the old workers and you guys are going to work twice as hard. And I'm like, well, that's going to go over. But anyways, but you got Heaven Hill building a completely brand new distillery. You've got Whiskey House of Kentucky. You've got, you know, what you're talking about. You've got Denny and Jane putting in a major podcast or distillery, and then you also have the people from Green River who just put the Western Kentucky, you know, so you've got all this whiskey that's going to be being made, and I don't see it dropping off for Buffalo Trace. I don't see anything. But what I've noticed lately on the shelves is that if you're a blender and you're blending MGP, people have been kind of over flooded with that to an extent. And you've got the main distillers still doing good, but I see it leveling off on the outskirts, you know. So you've got all these distilleries going in, and it scares me. I mean, how much whiskey can people drink? It's just, there's an awful lot. Our collections, as you know, Diane, our collections are, you know, 800, 700, you know, and I think this year, out of all the years, because of the fact that, you know, we're a little bit tighter on whatever, I'm very much more, I don't just dive into anything. I like to taste it. I like to know what I'm buying, and I want it to be good if I'm going to buy it. I get a lot of it sent to me. I'm not, you know, I still will go through that. But as far as my purchasing, I've saved up a lot for Bourbon on the Banks and Kentucky Bourbon Festival. That's where I'm going to be spending my dollar, but I haven't been just quite as much going in line and spending it, you know, and getting all the different Elijah Craigs and everything. So that's one thing, but I don't see any problem with the festivals. That's for sure, because bourbon drinkers and this class of bourbon drinker, we get excited about this.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about the surveys that we take, or that I send out, and some of the feedback was requesting basically a bottle check. So for these people who are really at Bourbon on the Banks Festival to do some serious shopping and having all these bottles to pack around. In the past, logistically, we couldn't figure out how to do it and do it well. But this year we will have a bottle check, and it'll be free of charge. We've got the Shriners, the local Shriners, who are going to run it. So you'll be able to buy as much as you want, take it and drop it off, and go get some more. So we're pretty excited about that edition this year.
Well, there you go. We almost didn't say that. That is a fantastic addition, honestly. That's something even in other festivals where they have lockers and everything, and you put it in there. But a bottle check makes more sense to me, because the locker only fits so much and you're still carrying stuff around.
Yeah. Yeah, and you get tired when you're slugging around about 100 pounds of bourbon.
It's bad enough carrying my full Glen all the time, let alone bottles. No, I mean, what's nice when you're a vendor there and you're out and you're interviewing and you might get some, you could just leave it back at the tent. So that's not bad.
You got a home base.
Yes, so that's okay. But other than, but that's fantastic. That solves a problem, and I think it makes bourbon people, you're going to see a difference in sales. I mean, honestly, sometimes you have a few bottles and you're carrying it around, and you see a bottle and you're like, I don't want to carry around another bottle.
True.
It's pretty heavy. And, you know, it's like, but if you have that bottle check, you might see more people buying a little bit more than they would, because they don't have to carry it around. That's a great idea. And
Absolutely.
then have the Shriners helping you out there. So that's fantastic. I'm sure you can tip them.
You can tip them, and they'll get a beneficiary check from us as well for doing that for us. We support what they do. So
all right.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
all right.
Anyone who's not familiar, just real quick, with the Shriners, just look up Shriners Hospitals. they treat people who don't have the financial means. My goodness, I know a few years ago their annual budget was pushing $1 billion, so I'm sure it's over that now. So they'll treat people, children mostly with orthopedic issues. They do also have a spinal unit. They treat cleft palate. They have burn units. They will provide transportation to and from the hospitals and lodging if needed for the family while they're there. So anybody who's watching who's not familiar with Shriners and their charity, which is the Shriners Hospitals, please look that up.
Yeah, and then also CT was supposed to be on tonight, but he found out last minute that he had committed to something else. So he wanted to say hi, and he jumped in and said hi and sorry he couldn't make it tonight. But he'll be at the festival, and so that'll be great. But normally I'd be like, hey, you guys give information on how to sell tickets, and don't have to do that this year. So that's a good thing.
Well, like I said, you can still get those Twilight tickets. It's 2 hours is a good amount of time. And we've got tickets to the bourbon pairing with Peggy Stevens and the VIP. I mean, you can still come to Frankfort and fill your time.
Well, after those 2 hours, everybody empties out into the afterward party, and then so you got that free. And now, do you have anything for Sunday this year, or is that just I know last you've moved the riverboat experience before than after, and that I think is a very smart thing to do.
Yeah. Well, what I've discovered is most people are heading home on Sunday, or they're done. So it's okay. And I think, Thursday is great. A lot of people come in early because they want to do a lot of these distillery tours and stuff. So yeah, that's good. We've got stuff for them on Thursday and Friday.
Well, I will throw out that Frankfort does have a Waffle House for 2:00 in the morning.
Oh yeah.
I've heard they do.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is also make sure stop by, visit the Frankfort Bourbon Society tent as well. And then Saturday night after the event, we usually have kind of a little open house type thing. We'll just have some, charcuterie trays, some appetizers out, people sharing some pours with friends. So listeners of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys are welcome to stop by.
Yeah.
But if you want more information, stop by our tent during the festival and we'll get you there.
I can contend that the pours that people share there are fantastic. It's something that it was we've been there and it's a lot of fun. And the Bourbon Society every year when we get to go see it, you guys have it decorated and keep taking it further and further. And it's a fantastic space. Actually, out of all the societies I visited, I really enjoy. I think the Frankfort Bourbon Society is one of the best. You guys have a core of people that are in the industry and not in the industry. I mean, you can go there and Freddie Johnson is just hanging out with everybody, or the night you have different people come and speak for you guys. It's fantastic. I mean, the Cincinnati Bourbon Society does a decent job, but it's still, this is a little bit more what would you say, in personal. It's not quite, and your space right there in Frankfort, right off the river, right off the bridge is fantastic, and you guys do a nice job. And I would have to say, I've never been there and had any kind of nothing but spectacular experience.
Yeah, we're kind of lucky having our own space too, so that opens up a lot of opportunities for events for us.
Yep. Okay. All right, so I think you guys got it covered, right? I mean, for the future, just throw out what's your website for people buying tickets next year? I mean, you're gonna have to go. You have to like get at it. You can't just you sell out in late July. You just can't buy a ticket day of. Do you have people going, well, I remember when I used to buy a ticket day of. Why do I have to buy a ticket so far in advance? Do you have that kind of stuff too?
One of the hardest things about selling out early is hearing from people who missed out. It's heartbreaking, because they're like, I've been there every year, and it's just, I will put people on a waiting list. And this, occasionally things come up, unexpected weddings or funerals, and I do refund a ticket here and there. So, but yeah, it's kind of a lesson learned. I think next year when we release the tickets, they'll probably go a lot faster. And if you go to our website, which is bourbononthebanks.org, and you subscribe, or you are a previous attendee, you get notified in advance. So you have a better chance of getting tickets. So I do suggest that next year when that happens, when those tickets open up, if you really do want to come, go ahead and get them. Well, for sure.
I agree with that, because now this year you sold out early. Last year you sold out day of. So people walking up could get tickets a little, they still had a shot of getting tickets this year. And now people will know, well, if I really want to go, I better get them right away. And that will definitely change the dynamic. But that's good to see. I mean, like I said, selling out then or selling out right away just makes you at ease, and you can go forward with so much other stuff. So, all right. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us at your festival too. We love to promote it. We talk about it. Amzie, I consider you a true friend, and throughout the year we get to see each other through mutual acquaintances and whatnot. And I just think the culmination of this festival is, all festivals have their own personality, but you guys are just like all the people in the industry that I've met, grounded, down-home people. You basically work hard at this, but at the same time, you're doing it for helping charities and doing good, but along with, because the people in bourbon are fantastic people. I mean, your festival, when you're there might be occasionally somebody that may be overindulged, but when that's happening, there's about 10 people around them helping them. Or if someone's got heat stroke or what, because it's so hot and whatever, you just see that community helping out. But overall, you never see bad stuff. You know what I mean? You don't see a lot of people over, because this bourbon community that likes quality bourbon usually isn't just out there, partying and destroying things like you can see at some festivals. So love it. So keep up the good work, you guys.
Now, Jeff, also you're from up there in the Norland of Ohio. It's really not that hot down here in Kentucky in October. So I know for you it's warm. There's no ice floating on the river.
Well, I guess the one year I was able to wear long pants on the day, but last year it was a little bit hotter than the year before. But yeah, you have I think the first week of October is the way to go. And I think the earlier you get, like you see some of the festivals moving closer to, the end of August. I mean, that's like the hottest point.
Yeah.
And, you're guaranteed probably no rain at that point. But at the same time, you're going to need the air conditioning if you have air conditioning in your festivals. That's for sure. Because, but I really, the last 2 years, the days have been fantastic, right?
Yeah.
And here's to another fantastic day.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I think that we covered it all this year. Make sure that you guys check out Bourbon on the Banks. If you don't have your tickets already, you kind of got a good feel for this and plan for it next year. And I will say, if you're planning for it next year, get your tickets early, but also save up, because there's a lot of good bourbon that is at this festival that you just can't get daily. The distilleries they distribute bottles, and it's worth having it. So I always find if you're going to go to when I go to a festival, I'd like to have enough cash or enough money to buy what I like to go to. So it gives you a chance to plan out. All right. Thank you, guys. I'm going to finish it up right here. www.scotchybourbonboys.com for all things Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X. Please also follow us on all the social media, all the podcast formats, Apple, iHeart and Spotify and any other one that you listen to. But remember, like, listen, subscribe, and leave us good feedback wherever you are watching or listening. And remember, good bourbon equals good friends and good times. Drink responsibly. Don't drink and drive, and live your life uncut and unfiltered. All right. That's the first time I tried that one. All right. So little Steve-O is going to take us out. Let's see. I'll get it right here. There it is.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you, I tell you, I tell you we must die.
All right. Oh, did it stop? I think it did. Did it? Or I wasn't sure if it did or not. All right, that stopped. We're still we're live on Facebook and YouTube still. My wife just so you know, she just left to go do a birth. And she was letting me know she was leaving. She's a midwife, so I didn't know if you knew that, but she's on her way.
Mhm.
But that gives me a little bit of time. So if you guys want to bow out, I'll just stay on a little bit more with the people on Facebook and YouTube, or if you want to stay around for a little bit. I know that we had a bunch of people from India watching, so I wanted to say hi to them. That was kind of cool.
And we normally average a couple international visitors at Bourbon on the Banks every year. So I don't think we've had India yet. So hopefully,
yeah,
they'll show up next year.
It would be
Yeah,
not.
that'd be cool.
They are huge into whiskey. So like
Mhm.
on YouTube, which is just blowing up for me. I think I just went over 59,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I think 37% of the subscribers are India on my
Wow.
YouTube. But what's even more bizarre is I think 21 are American, right? And 20% are Russian.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Interesting.
They must
Yeah.
like whiskey or whatever, but it's interesting. So I get comments, and it's funny because Walker who's part of our is on his way to becoming part of the podcast at one point. He was I'm just trying to see what he's been on. He says cheers to you guys, but he'll monitor the YouTube for me and then translate all the foreign, because the one thing to see what people are commenting and saying hi and whatever in English, but as soon as it comes across in Arabic or Russian or many different languages, there's not much you can do while you're live. So that's been a lot of fun. So
Speaking of the Indian listeners, and this is the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. So you all like malt whiskey. You tried the Indian whiskey? Is it Amrut? AMRUT? Have you had any of that?
I have not, but I've heard of it.
It's great. If you get a chance, you won't be disappointed.
So when I come down, you're gonna give me a chance?
I don't actually own a bottle of it, but I've had it.
Didn't we?
Maybe there's a good chance that Tony Minicello may have brought some.
I didn't. I tried Paul John Indy, but that is actually Sazerac and owning an Indian distillery.
I don't think I knew that they owned it.
I didn't know Sazerac owned it.
Me.
So
if you go look at all the brands that Sazerac owns, your jaw will drop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do. They own a lot of, and you can't deny they don't make good whiskey. They
No,
make
you can't.
good whiskey. I love my favorite thing about Buffalo Trace is they do things in a way that a lot of people they're not transparent in a lot of the stuff they do, but it's fantastic. I mean, none of it is bad. Almost everything I taste, I like Traveler. The Traveler whiskey. I mean, there are so many people because you can get it. Somehow it's the crappiest thing on the planet. It's the one thing from Buffalo Trace you can get anytime you want, and it's horrible. Anyways, but what I find is, let's see. Oh my God, I just lost my. But oh no, what they do as far as aging, and they believe that aging is 1 year is 1 year, but they steam heat their warehouses in the wintertime to warm them up and drop them back and forth, and so a lot of places call that rapid aging and make a big deal of it. But Buffalo Trace just does it and doesn't care that it just makes their stuff taste better. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I'm a big Buffalo Trace.
I am too.
Just even regular Buffalo Trace.
Oh, well, this year's batch is so much more caramel than the past batches before. I've actually gotten through 2 bottles in the last 2 months, and it's basically just pouring it for everybody to tell them, taste this, and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "It's Buffalo Trace." They're like, "What Buffalo Trace? Is it Weller? Is it?" No, it's just Buffalo Trace. Yeah, and it's like they can't believe it. For $31 or $29.90, whatever. That bottle right now is so good that it's beyond.
I wonder if that could be some of the new rick houses, the ones up on top of the hill, have now been there 7, 8, I don't know, maybe 9 years, and some of that stuff's getting old enough. Yeah. I wonder if it has a slightly different flavor profile.
Well, I also think that the heat and the summers you guys have been having has aged whiskey exceptionally well. Even if you think about it, you guys have like the perfect mix. Like the first in 2019, it was really dry when I came out there. It was like you couldn't have a fire in your fire pit because the fire was everything was so dry and it was a high fire risk. I mean, and then since then, it's been like this perfect mix of rain, heat, rain. You add the humidity. You're never so dry that everything's out, and you just guys get these so those rick houses these last couple days in the high 90s. Did you guys hit 100? Because we're at like 94 today.
No, we didn't, but it's been really like my yard is dead right now, so we haven't had any rain in a while. Those newer rick houses, I only live maybe 1 or 2. And like if I was to take our dog out right now, I will smell the mash cooking at Buffalo Trace.
You're so lucky.
But now, when summer gets here and it gets hot, those rick houses are getting enough age in them that I'm starting to smell the angel share too, which is just great. So
you can't.
I live on the river, and I get it coming down the river in the morning. The mash smell, and I just love it.
Yeah.
But
Diane, have you noticed that people who are from Frankfort originally, that a lot of them don't like the mash?
It's odd. You would think it would be very nostalgic for them, like grew up with it and left and came back. But I have heard a lot of negative comments, but I like it.
It's almost like a bakery smell. It smells really good.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's just like but it's about a lot of people when you think about the spirits industry and the percentage of what the whiskey is in the whole spirit industry, it's like 13%. And it had dropped down before the whiskey boom to like 10, and it's gained, that 3% of the whole market is just everything. But still that means 70, right? 77. No, that's 87. At 13, 87% of the other rest of people don't, if you don't like whiskey, I get the bakes and the cooks and everything, and I love that smell, but there's just a certain amount of people that it just turns off. So I guess, but you would think everybody living in Frankfort should be drinking bourbon, right?
Yeah, you would think so. And then some people get mad about the whiskey fungus that grows around distilleries anywhere.
You know what though? You see
And
that
so,
on a winter day and the
yeah,
snow coming down and the tree
yeah,
is all black and oh God,
hmm
it's so gorgeous.
yeah.
Well,
It's
So
pretty. And
but the distilleries are smart. They're building black rick houses, and then they don't get that.
yeah.
It's
Well,
smart.
the thing is, so like I said, we are probably in a straight line, like maybe 2 miles from Buffalo Trace, maybe 2.5. And it's dark now, so you can't see it. But we built our house a little over 4 years ago. Our daughter was loud earlier, so I came up to this little upstairs guest room that's her
Mhm.
playroom at the top. Windows up here on a sunny day, if you look out, there are these little circles that are the colonies of the whiskey fungus that are starting to grow on our window, and I haven't cleaned them on the outside.
oh
And
man.
it's kind of interesting. But even the whiskey fungus, me, as things start to get that patina sort of, I think it's interesting. The distilleries were here before I was, and so I'm not going to complain about them. Some
Yeah,
people do.
you just got to clean your windows.
Hmm
So
That's what Destiny says. So
Hey guys, I'm gonna jump off and
All
let you
right.
guys keep chit chatting.
Okay.
But thanks
Okay.
again for having me.
Well, I appreciate
All right.
it, and I look forward to seeing you coming up.
You will see me soon. Yeah.
Yes, thank
We'll
you.
talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.
So
yeah, Jeff, I'm probably about to follow, but I look forward to seeing you soon.
So hopefully I can get you some of
Mhm.
this. I'm looking forward to this because this
Yeah, because actually, we're only, or what are we, 4 weeks out, 5 weeks out right now?
yeah, it's like
Yeah, I definitely want some of that, and I'll have you deliver it.
oh yeah,
So
yeah. And then if you want to, you tell, and I have enough. So tell anybody you want. I can, just like we did the one night. Venmo's fine, and we
Mhm.
Venmo'd you, and that all works. And I definitely have enough. I just went in on this because it was Alan's last two picks, and he was like, you should just put it all on credit cards and do 4. And I'm just like, not. That's a lot of credit card interest.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I did get
Funny that you all tried when Alan gave you that little tidbit of advice
what to do. Yeah, and that, like I
to
said,
run it all up on your credit card. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. That was really nice. But he could be right. I mean, getting that Lillian out, I don't know how much. I just don't know how much more those that they're going to be able to do. They support us. They sponsor us. There's nothing. I'm not saying anything bad, but they have a 5-year cushion if they could figure things out. But just right now, without Justin and Alan out there, I went there to pick up the Dalton one, and it was very what would you say? I was sad. Everything kind of was shut down, and there was nobody in there, and it felt like they were gone. And it's kind of like a playground with no kids in it anymore.
Well, I think a lot of what it is this current sort of inflationary squeeze that everyone is feeling. Go to McDonald's and look how much it costs. Go to the grocery store and look at the cost of a pound of ground beef. And so I think people just have less discretionary income right now. And so I'm hoping that is going to turn around. And then I just hope that a lot of these craft distillers, it's a tough business with kind of slim profit margins, especially at the beginning. And I just hope a lot of them can weather this storm and hopefully come out better and stronger on the other side.
I have my fingers crossed. I think if you're an actual craft distiller, you got a shot but you have to know what you're doing. Yeah. I mean, this is a marketplace where if you don't know what you're doing, if you're not good with finance, if you're not good with this, it will claim you. You have to market, you have to know what you're doing, and you have to be extremely streamlined. But keep the people who are. I mean, I watch. As a podcaster, I watch a lot of distilleries make mistakes. You know, they get to where they're a point, and it's like any other business, but it's funny on the shelf and how they treat each other. They don't treat each other mostly like it's competition. They're very friendly towards each other. But right now, in my opinion, it's about as competitive as it can get because they're competing for the dollar to keep going, not competing against each other. They're competing against inflation, and the consumer is what their competition has come, because you got to pick. And all I got to say is, I love Elijah Craig toasted barrel and barrel proof. Okay. But I've got 12 different batches of barrel proof. I've only tasted, this year I'm out on, and it's funny because this is a year you can get all the barrel proof. It's on the shelf. They've finally come up and have made enough, but it's not like everybody was doing where they were just selling out right away. There's still some there, but I'm still not on board. I see it all the time and I want to get it, but I just don't got the dollars for it, you know?
Yeah.
It definitely, you feel the tightness, you know?
Yeah, and the only other thing I worry about there is that it normally seems like when the prices never come back down. And I just really hope
although I did
continues to come back
see after the price increase and that supply chain problem, for instance, I watched Old Tub go from $18.99 to $24.99 back down to $20 or $19.99, $20.90. They did adjust some of the brands that are on the shelf back down. But like you said, everybody is used to paying $70 and $80 some dollars now for a bottle when you go, because that's the price range, where they used to pay 50 and 60. That's where we're at. And it takes a toll on what you can get.
But, you know, that all passes down. I mean, you know, the cost of fuel goes up. It costs farmers more. Then they have to sell the grain for a higher price. And
the one thing I understand is the price of whiskey. When someone tells me that's too expensive, well, you're not the one that just had to buy, you know, a 10-year-old, 3 10-year-old barrels to make your batch from MGP. It's not cheap. You know, and that sat, and MGP is not going to just give it away because it's sat in their warehouse for 10 years while they paid minor taxes and they lost the angel share. They got to sell it and make money, you know. And 10 years ago to make that whiskey probably was cheaper. But right now they also have to recover in their price the cost of labor, because that has to be reflected, because to make it now, it doesn't necessarily have to recover the cost of the supplies and everything, but that labor cost, that's real. You know, they can make.
And I think that the rough competition there too is your actual craft distillers who are distilling. They don't have that economy of scale that MGP has and Heaven Hill and Sazerac, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, they there's no way they could sell a fifth of something for $30, you know, of an aged whiskey, because they would lose money on it. And that's where I hope a lot of people understand that. And
well,
I really have gotten to where I love the craft distillers. I love what they're doing. There's some very good ones out there. Well, and honestly, I go after a lot of that more these days than the shelf unicorn that somebody just wants to buy and flip somewhere.
Well, I don't mind going after the shelf unicorn during Kentucky Bourbon Festival. I'm going to be chasing it there. Yeah. That's when I go. But I mean, I have 2 Weller 12 years. I finally obtained a CYPB. I have 3 full proofs. I have, you know, I could get Weller 107 and Weller Reserve. I've got the collection. And I'm sure as hell not going to get, what was it, the Millennial bottle? Yeah, that's a little bit out of my price range. But when we had that up here in Ohio, each place I think had 12 bottles, 12 or 2 cases each, and they sold out. So Buffalo Trace products are not what would you say? That is not going by the wayside. They have done good stuff, and I really think those unicorn people for those high-end bottles. I mean, the place that also has been killing it is Heaven Hill. If you know that. Now, is Heaven Hill there this year?
I don't know if we've actually ever had Heaven Hill.
That's what I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it just I feel like there's this gang war between Bardstown and Frankfort. And they don't want to cross sides and come over here. Maybe
that's dumb. I mean,
yeah,
like the whole freaking country doesn't buy their stuff. Yeah. Okay. But that what they've got the 18-year. They really came out with a really nice collection this year, the William Heaven Hill collection, which wasn't there before. You know what I mean? And so. They had the Elijah Craig always going at that higher level, but those 12, I think 12, 15, 17 and 18 or something like that. Those are spectacular whiskeys. I mean, when we were in New Orleans, we got to taste those when we're down there. And I just was very impressed. So, but I'm impressed with whatever, Jim Beam's doing a good job. Everybody, they've all responded to really take this to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just hope that Buffalo Trace increases the Weller production. When I first moved to Frankfort 15 and a half years ago, I mean, I could buy all the Weller 12 I wanted. And I would mix it. I would put it in my eggnog. And then suddenly one day it just was gone. And so I hope to see some of those things come back.
I believe with the amount of production that they're doing, I didn't know. I thought they doubled their still production by putting another still right next to it. But then, you talk to somebody who knows, and there's all those other stills back there running too. They're rising up to fill those warehouses. And, when I talked to Harlan the one time, that was just crazy. I'm like, well, what are you going to do as far as Blanton's? I mean, you only got one warehouse that Blanton's is supposed to come from. He's like, we're doubling that production too. I'm like, I'm going. And then you see, I think they made 7 steel rick houses and they put them at the right angle. And then when I had them on the next time, they're basically climate controlling them, measuring the climate from the main warehouse, which I believe is it warehouse H?
H is where Blanton comes from.
Yeah. And they're going to measure the humidity, the heat and everything. And even the wind speed they can match within each one of those warehouses and he felt confident they were going to be able to duplicate it. And I'm just like, that sounds fun. I think honestly, it's a single barrel. I've had good Blantons and I've had bad Blantons, and it's just like, so they got a little bit of leeway there, right? So,
those new warehouses up here on top of the hill, I think they were building, I think they may have run out of land up here, actually, to continue building those. But I think they were completing a new rick house every 3 months and filling one every 3 months with 50,000 barrels. So, and then you consider all of their old existing warehouses. I mean, they're putting away more. I'm just ready for it to be matured and ready to go.
You live in Kentucky. And you see when you drive around, whether it's Bardstown, Louisville, or Frankfort, Lexington areas, you see where there was open spaces and they are no longer open spaces. And I find it to be beautiful. I mean, when you drive into Bardstown and you see Bardstown Bourbon Company, which, 5 years ago was a open field with a distillery, and now it's completely filled almost to the water tower between what they're doing at Lux Row and what they're doing. I mean, it's fantastic. They're not intrusive. You know what I mean? They're not so big that they're intrusive. But then I actually find that if you paint them whatever and you can see the mold, it's kind of pretty as you walk in. But, like you said, there's so much out there. I mean, then Heaven Hill, that whole field, that's crazy. It's just
well, and Buffalo Trace tried to expand here a little more and purchase some land, and there was pushback within the community. But yeah, that's fine. I think the rick houses are beautiful. I think Buffalo Trace, all of their land, it looks nice. They keep it up well. They're actually pretty good environmental stewards. And so I didn't understand some of that pushback we had.
And they're a good company to work for. The jobs are good jobs. I just don't, when communities push back on this industry, and after all this time, you guys are putting on a festival, Kentucky Bourbon Festival is putting on a festival, and the people that come to those festivals are so well behaved, the locals or whatever. You don't have this big problem going out into Frankfort. You guys have confidence to let them out of the festival into that everybody's not going to be, whatever, and people are going to be, it's just, I don't understand why some communities just will want to fight that, because it's just so good for a community to be thriving and have jobs for people. I mean, yeah, if you don't want to work in the distilling industry, you can go someplace else, or you can work in the service industry for all the people coming through. There's something, all the people coming through. If you do a ATV park, or if you did something, you can find things to do to entertain them, because they're not coming here specifically. They love to do bourbon, but if you have something else for them to do, they'll do it. And most people coming through have money, right? There are.
Yeah. I mean, most of those people are coming to spend money, basically. When they come visit, they eat at local establishments, they stay at the local hotels. What got me was the first year of Bourbon on the Banks. My wife and I volunteered at a tent for a winery out of California. And there was a group of guys that came up, and I asked them where they were from, and they were from either Tempe or Tucson, Arizona. And I said, wow, what brought you here? And they said, well, the festival. They had heard about it, I think, on the Bourbon Pursuit podcast. And they came into town like 4 days early and visited distilleries, So the economic impact of that is huge on what it provides for the community.
I mean, when we first came to, our first time down to Kentucky was for Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and it started on a Thursday night. We drove down on Thursday and attended the Thursday night event, but we drove down and spent Thursday so then the next year, Nash came down on a Wednesday. So, well, actually, I think we booked a Wednesday, but he came down on Tuesday. Before I knew it, I was like trying to book the Saturday. I had backed it off all the way to coming down on Saturday, and then he came down on Friday. So we were just stepping back to, and that's what I love to do. I would say, Amzie, the only critique of the festival that it's Saturday. I would love for it to be a 2-day festival, Saturday and Sunday, because then I would be able to get enough, because at your rate, you can't get enough. I mean, that festival in that amount of time, it's really, you feel like you got to come back again. Because, but
I think on, make sure you answer the feedback, the surveys this year.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to convince the rest of the board we should go to a 2-day tasting festival. And then also it's what's better for people, Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday. And if you ask the distilleries, they're going to say they don't really want to do it 2 days, because who wants to work an extra day, basically? But if you build it, they will come. So
yeah, and well, you could for the distilleries, you could have a 2-day festival, and the way you guys clean up and whatever, you could have half the distilleries on one day and half the distilleries on the other, so that each day of the festival was different.
Well, I think a lot of times on a 2-day festival, you're going to get some people that do both days, some people that do one or the other. And so we probably would try and get all the distilleries to be there both days.
That's true.
And then, I mean, still, you still can't try almost 80 distilleries, because every distillery is going to have multiple samples. So,
yes. And yeah, you have to pace yourself. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of good whiskey to try. I just think every year the distilleries get the rules better, and so it allows them to do more. I see it with Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and I guarantee I'll see it this year. I know that they'll have stuff there that, you know, I just can't wait to see what Macaulay's selling this year.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
sampling.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he really does some great stuff. And then I think his branding is just amazing. Those are beautiful bottles that he's got.
Dude, his palate is so phenomenal. It's just we were tasting stuff in New Orleans, and he was over there, and he just brought out, and but he loves the marketing aspect of it. You know what I mean? When you think about it, he the one thing he said on when we were filming him the last time, he's like, I like to do the best of everything. He goes, when I have a steak, I want the best steak. You know, when I want a wine, I want the best one. And when I make whiskey, I want to make the best whiskey. His knowledge of the forests of France, it's crazy. I mean, he's so well educated in the spirits industry. He's educated himself in wine. He educates himself in beer. He has, you know what I mean? He knows all the flavors and the palates, and he knows what he's doing with whiskey. He just knows what he wants to do and what he's doing.
That's why I'm excited about doing a blend down there. So have you gone to his new place?
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I've gone and I've tried a lot of the barrels, and they're phenomenal. And then you I like to cook too, and so you start thinking about the different flavors and combining them. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
we can come up.
I think they got the tasting room open now. They had when we went last year. I think we went right before Bourbon on the Banks. We went down there, went to his place. Then we did whatever because we were down. I think that's what it was, and yeah, actually. On that Friday, we drove down and went to his place first, and we weren't supposed to set up. And then we drove from his place over to set up the get ready for on Friday for the setup. And but and then we were with him in New Orleans, and both times he's just I like him a lot. I just hope the world's not at one point doesn't bite him in the ass. That guy lives on an extreme.
Yeah, he does.
He's
we're gonna have to get down to New Orleans one of these days. Destiny and I were gonna go in 2021. It got bumped back to August, and so we went, but then they canceled it like a week or two before. But we went anyways, and so yeah, we've been to New Orleans multiple times, just never been to the festival, and we need to do that.
Yeah, that was interesting. The best part about that, we went down on Wednesday, flew down on Wednesday. The festival was we got there on that Wednesday, and there was stuff already starting. Then it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we flew back on Sunday. And all the different things and all the different events, we were there and covering, and it was pretty wild. I mean, Veach was there. Minnick was not, but Veach was there speaking. We hung out with Mark Carter and Christy a lot when we were down there. And then there was just a younger crowd there. I mean, I got to meet a lot of people, but the best part was that the hotel, it was in the lobby of the hotel. The whole thing was right there on the river by where you get on all the cruises, and then, but if you like had to go take a break, you could just go up to your hotel room. You could whatever, and then you just walk right back down. The elevator leads you out, and you're back into the festival. And then so it's great for the actual nighttime events on Friday and Saturday night was walkable. You could walk to the place, but they had the the Thursday night opening ceremony or thing, the reception was right there in the hotel. So I mean, and then all the things. So that was kind of cool. It's worth going at least once. I think I got to go again this year because CT didn't have a chance because he was at a wedding. So I told him if he wants to go this year, I'll do it again because Tracy was asking us to do it again. Tracy,
did you by chance meet Jed Haas from Atelier V Distillery?
No.
So it's a little local distillery down there. I mean, he is very, very small operation, one-man show. He's got like a 30-gallon still, I think. Makes some just amazing stuff. We've actually gone to his distillery twice, and so make sure next year you look for him.
Yeah, definitely. The food down there, and then Bourbon Street, as a backdrop too. I mean, it's a great festival, but I will say that it's a little bit. There's certain aspects that I like about the Kentucky festivals. What would you say? It has a New Orleans feel. So the New Orleans feel is very, very Mardi Gras, maybe that voodoo kind of thing, where both my Kentucky bourbon things are more like family, friends and family. The friends and family were in New Orleans. They all came down, you know what I mean? But it's not quite, I don't know. I'm not ripping on the festival at all. I mean,
and also everything there is indoors, correct?
Yeah. Actually, they have an indoor-outdoor facility for the night of where you're there. There's a certain amount indoor, and then there's a certain amount outdoor. There was the thing they had there that was unbelievable is they had a food truck that was cooking oysters on a grill. They were char-grilled, smoked, whatever. And it just was part of the festival. Okay. So part of your ticket. So you could just get as many as you wanted. You go up there, they're cooking them. They had that fire and that char grill going from when it opened at 6 all the way till when it closed at 11. It was just constantly cooking. And I mean, everybody was like getting toasted one night in the smoke while you're, me and Roxy went home. And I'm like, oh my God, I smell like char-grilled oysters. I mean, it just, but they were so good. I'm not like just like, I gotta have oyster kind of guy, but that, and they had them both nights. And I was like, are you having that again tonight? And he's like, yeah. But those are kind of things, yeah, it's New Orleans. What do you expect, right? You're going to get that New Orleans cuisine. I mean, I think, I'm looking forward to the VIP with Walter. I was actually, I had talked to him last year about sponsoring, but then this time when we went and we did the whole thing, very happy that happened. So it's kind of.
I'm sorry I missed you out there. I was there Friday and Saturday actually. So yeah.
I think you actually got to see Hannah then.
I think I saw her Friday. I don't know if she was there Saturday. Actually, Saturday I met Kevin Rose and Mike Lesick down there.
Oh, it's like sometimes, but Saturday was rough for me because I had to pick up the Dalton, and then we went over and saw Alan at Beck's Mill. And then I was talking, we spent some good time with Alan over there, and he got to taste the Dalton, and we gave him one. Then we went over to Old Homestead and hung out for about an hour with Jolie before she went home. And then we stayed at Old Homestead. So nice place. I mean, I mean, if you're into alcohol, Patoka Lake Winery, Old Homestead Distillery, and their brewery, all in one space. You can have a wine slushie, drink a nice glass of wine, go over to the distillery, sample some sunshine. That's some interesting stuff, right? And then head over to the brewery and have a couple beers.
Yeah, it's a really neat spot. Great new hotel. I don't know. Did you get a chance to see the suites that are in like the grain silos?
Yeah, I saw that last time. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, those are neat too. I think that would be a neat place to stay.
Well, that's it. I think it's a neat place to stay unless it's like, I don't see the air conditioning covering the 92 degree heat.
Yeah. Well, it's shiny and silver on the outside. Maybe that helps.
Yeah, I'm sure. But there was some people actually in the bottom, because the top, it's above it. So the bottom one part of the silo was a little area where you could be like drinking and everything. But the place was really hopping. I mean, what can you say? I understand everybody went back, but it's the weekend, and the people who love the boat, it was a beautiful weekend for that.
Yeah, they're on the main road that goes to the marina there at Patoka Lake. And that's either the largest or second largest, man-made reservoir in Indiana. And I think something like 1 million people a year drive past their location.
Yeah, but you look at the size of it. It's a reservoir, and so it's man-made. But at the same time, it's probably the biggest man-made recreational area there is. I mean, the boats. It's not a small where the boats are going to get into each other. It can be crowded.
No, it's huge.
Yeah, it's absolutely. You're driving and it's like, wow. It's like, even for a natural lake, if it was a natural lake in up north Wisconsin, it's still a big lake. It's just, I mean, it's impressive actually. So, and then their wine slushies are pretty damn good.
Yeah, we've gone up to visit a few times. I actually haven't been back since Alan has his stills up and going. I haven't been there, so I need to get back over there.
Got them set up, and he's doing a lot of stuff. I mean, he's working his butt off on them. But the tasting room is being developed. But it's like anything else. You go to set up a business plan to build a distillery and a tasting room. And then you look at the money and you go, okay, it's going to cost this. And then you get whatever you do and you say yes. And then you can probably at least make it more than a quarter more than what you thought it was going to be. And it's going to take twice as long as it, to build it. It's just, they wanted it tasting room already running. So, I understand it's not easy to do. It's hard to find the work. It's like there's always delays. And a lot of times it's not the labor, it's ordering the stuff, and the stuff doesn't come in. But it's like no different than anybody who ever built a house. Did you build your house?
Yeah, we did.
So anybody who's built a house, the next time probably wouldn't build another.
Exactly. No. And some people who say, oh no, I love building a house. I'm I don't know what's wrong with you. But,
exactly. I mean, I
couldn't do it again.
There's so many compromises. There's so many places you get put into, and you accept this, but you didn't want to, or something else. I just, I've watched people do it over and over and over. And I was a kid, and my mom and dad built an addition, and what my mom went through and her nervous breakdown she almost had was enough for me to know that I'm going to buy a nice house that somebody else built, and you just kind of go like this, and yes, right. All right.
Yeah, like I said, I just don't think I could do it again. There's no way.
No, you can't. It's not worth it. It's like it'll be well worth it money wise. I mean, if you would sell the house and move someplace else, you would be able to buy another house. There's no doubt. But yeah, it almost takes your soul, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a terrible thing. And then delays, and so we lucked out on our house. We moved in probably a week, maybe 10 days before the COVID shutdowns happened. And so we were trying to get in really just under the wire, hoping we could get inspections. yeah, it was kind of crazy there at the end for us. So
I can only imagine. Yeah, for us, well, the thing that happened to me is I had a house fire in 2003 on Father's Day, and the next 5 months I got to get everything out and then rebuild the house from the house fire, and just that alone. My favorite day was had redone the floors. They were all hardwood, right? And they had been burnt from the basement. It was a basement fire. And so the hardwood floors had to be replaced. And because we didn't opt for hardwood floors, because they had, when we were living there, they had put linoleum over them before. But to replace those hardwood floors was like extreme amount of money. And we said, we'll just put laminate in if you let us remodel the whole kitchen. So we struck a deal and got a really nice kitchen out of it. But the day they were putting the laminate floor in and they had it stripped up, my wife was walking in the door, and a guy was laying down the particle board that was going to go so that they could lay the laminate. And as he was laying it over, there's like a box area that it was going over on the joists. And he was spitting his chewing tobacco into on the floor in between. And my wife saw him do it as he was going to hammer it back down. She made him rip up all of it and get all his chewing tobacco out of there, and asked him, why the hell does she want to have his chewing tobacco smelling up her house for the next 20 years?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, that's the kind of stuff you dealt with. And I wasn't there, but I know she's like, I made him rip it all up, and I made him clean it all out.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably the least of your worries of like what happened there,
Yep.
Was that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so I look forward to another great after party. I mean, the after party, in my opinion, are epic. They're epic. I mean, you were really well behaved last year.
I was. I learned my mistake a couple years before. So,
once again, we had you right. You were just a little bit tired.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I don't remember last year, did you spend very much time at House of Commons, the new little bar on the corner there?
Yeah, we went to the House of Commons, and then there was another open air bar that we were walking by on the street where the performers were to the right. They had it opened up. We walked in, we were hanging out there, and then the House of Commons had just opened up and we were in there. I actually think we saw nope. I forget who we saw walking in. I think it was Christy and Mark. It might have been, because you never. I think that's
at House of Commons. Maybe.
Yeah.
So for everybody who's still listening hasn't gone there, the great thing there is those little half-ounce pours you can do, the flight pours, all the dusty bourbons and everything else. I love that place. And then during Frankfort Bourbon Week this year, they had a competition amongst bars and restaurants in Frankfurt to come up with a new cocktail called the Frankfurt. And the winning version was actually at House of Commons. And so you can go there and order a Frankfurt cocktail, and it's good. It's really good. So,
well, that's interesting. There you go. So they got the right to make the winning cocktail called the Frankfurt. Now, does everybody else now make a version of it themselves?
I don't know.
Or did you copyright it? And now they are the only ones that can.
Well, and so, they share the recipe, and so other places know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if other places are making it, or if the other places are bitter and want to make their version of it still. I'm not sure.
So Jap Van der Oort is on, and he said they had 13 different ones.
So that's it probably shows up as Yop, also known as Jacob. Also known as Jacob.
So Jacob, huh?
Yeah, Jacob is our newest board member for the Frankfort Bourbon Society.
Okay. He said he asked, when is the Ohio Craft Distillery Festival going on? It is coming up. I saw it. They just announced it. I want to say it's Friday, September 20th. I want to say that because I think it's the day before my birthday and I got to go. I'm going to be in Michigan and I was really bummed out because last year I went to Kentucky Bourbon Festival, then the Ohio Craft Distillery Festival, and then to Bourbon on the Bank. So I had that was like out of the 4 weekends, 3 of them were covered with that. So it was kind of cool. Now this year, it is good that Kentucky Bourbon Festival moved up one because now you guys are real early. We didn't even say the date, but it's the Friday the 3rd and Saturday the 4th, right, of October?
For us. So the bourbon tasting festival part will always be the first Saturday in October, which is the 5th.
Okay, it's the 5th, and then the 4th is the Friday to set up and everybody, yeah.
And so the Thursday kickoff is on the 3rd. But the bourbon tasting festival that sets the schedule for everything else will always be the first Saturday in October. So sometimes some of the other events could, if that's on the 1st, they would actually be at the end of September. So always first Saturday in October.
Right. And last year, I think it was October 7th was the Saturday. It was the farthest out it could be. So it made like a nice break. But yeah, sometimes it's
the very first year of the festival, it was in August. And we did that because of the lowest chance of rain. And then it was unseasonably cool, which gave us a really nice nice event. And so we decided to move it to the fall. It's just, it's better. It's always bourbon drinking weather, but if you have to be outside, October is a little bit better.
Yeah, October in Kentucky is still pretty damn warm. It's not like you're not October in Wisconsin. October in Kentucky is the right time to have it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, September, it's a hit or miss on warmth. I mean, you could still, but again, it's just kind of like, it's nothing's wrong with sunny and 87. You just hope it's not going to be ungodly 95, the last couple days. That's what we're not hoping for, right? All right. I will finish this off. What else? You had the dark arts. Did you drink on anything else?
Yeah, so I had the dark arts. I had that little peerless sample I pulled from my barrel when I was up there. Actually, on my birthday, I was there, and I happened to notice a barrel that was filled on my birthday in 2017, and so we pulled the sample of that.
That's cool.
I actually had a bottle of the Lawrenceburg Bourbon Company High Wheat Rye. I tried some of that.
And if anybody, you got to admit, if there's anybody out there, go to Lawrenceburg Bourbon Company, their new tasting room, and they're, where they're aging all their barrels and everything, because their warehouse right behind. Because honestly, that freaking bar is cool as hell. I mean, that is a really cool place. I mean, it's a bourbon bar where I don't think there is any oak in there, which most bourbon bars, it's going to be oak and wood everywhere. It's got a very different vibe, neon lights. It's a really neat, really cool place. And one of the largest humidors in Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. And it's not far from Four Roses, and it's literally a quarter of a mile from Wild Turkey on your way to Wild Turkey. Yeah, it's all right there. Yeah, actually, when you go to Lawrenceburg, the Wild Turkey entrance is like involved. On the way. Yeah. And then the one other thing I tried, you spend enough time at Whiskey Thief, you've probably got some of this, but every May they release the May Day rye. And have a little bit of that tonight too. So there's it's very unique, especially how they do rye. There's a lot of you gotta admit there's still a lot of hunter there. Yeah. So
I
I'm
understand his new place will be opening. Is it October? I think. Let me see. So it's not really going to be much of a place to visit for people. I think they're going to be more of a production.
contracting.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, distillery.
she'll probably distill for Walter.
Let's see. It's called Meadowland Distillery. So meadowland.com.
So is he a
Um,
Giants or Jets fan?
I don't know. I think one of the backers, their daughter is named Meadow. I think that's probably where that came from. So
Okay.
yeah, it just says production will begin in the fall of this year.
Yeah,
So,
it's just like there's so many people. I'm sure he has contacts of all the people who just want him. He'll probably be doing. I mean, he knows how to run a pot still. There's no doubt.
Well, their new place is Column. It's,
Really?
Yeah, it's a production facility. Yeah.
God, it's just like the amount of distilleries going in. It's actually at this point making me nervous. I cannot believe that David Mandel built the Whiskey House of Kentucky that fast. I mean, you know, you look at what it took Luca Mariano and Log Still and how they did it. And I mean, he like announced it in November and was distilling by March.
Well, so I think Limestone Farms, you know, the primary sponsor for the Bourbon on the Banks Festival, their buildings, their distillery building and everything is all going to be insulated concrete form. And so I guess those go up quickly. But like Diane said, they will be the second largest pot distillery in the country. And who knows if he may put in a few more. I mean, they're kind of, you know, go big or go home.
So the largest is right. Isn't it Woodford?
I believe so. Yeah.
It's just like Woodford Reserve is so unique to me. I've never been there.
A beautiful distillery.
I've never been there, and I've been there a lot where they were running the pot stills. It's interesting. And then they put 3 more in. So they got 6 now, right?
Yeah.
And those are amazing. I mean, it's just like you just sit there with, you know, you go around to all the different pot stills around the country and you're just like this, and then you go there and you just go.
Right.
But I really, I do like what Woodford does. I mean, I have no problem mixing pot still with column still and making a good bourbon. It does it. I mean, that's unique to what they're doing. But you know, it's a company that owns Jack Daniels, and so obviously they know how to make whiskey. So other than that, you're just been leaving Alan alone pretty much, right?
I have. Let him actually get some work done before I start going down there too much, I guess. So, yeah. But like I said, I've been it's kind of while they're still building and doing some stuff, and I do need to get back down there. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the guy knows what he's doing. I mean, I think that the idea of what he's doing with those sunflower seeds and calling it sunshine, legal distillate being made by the light of day is sunshine, and then he basically flavors it, and we got to taste it was like 2 different flavors, lemon drop, and I think I forget what the other one was, but they were both fantastic as far as flavored, you know, moonshine, which I've had a lot, but still think of it had just this unique freshness to it. And, you know, but, you know, who would ever think of that? I'm like, did you ever come up with that? And he's like, he came up with sunshine. And it's so simple. You know what I mean? Illegal distillate made by the light of the moon, moonshine. And then he comes up with that. So
that's a pretty good name.
But we got to see the sun. I never seen a sunflower seed sprout. So they take them and they let them get to the sprout level. Then they dry them out and either toast them or use them. So it's sunflower malt. I mean, and then they throw it in there with a bunch of oats and raisins, and he's got and then, so he's doing the stuff he needs to do quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a couple days off and go up there and help him stir some mash around or something.
And he just would love the help. There's no doubt about it. He's been working. Yeah. He said he's been working his butt off. And it's hot.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's looking forward to it to start to cool down a little bit.
Yeah, I bet.
It's a lot. I think it's a lot different than what the situation that he was in before, because I think he was just doing the essence of the bare minimum of what they were asking him to do. They were asking him to do the bare minimum of what he could do, But I think they want him to go full forward at this place.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, he seems happy, and that makes me happy.
Well,
so
yeah, but I mean, they're doing it right. I mean, he has part ownership. How much more?
Yeah.
You got a guy who cares about something, and you build it so he'll come and give him part ownership. It's like he'll die for you. Yeah. I mean, if you treat Alan right, he would die for you anyways.
Yeah.
While he was giving you the finger, though.
That's it, 100%.
Yeah, that's Alan. It's like that's why we all love him. There's no doubt.
It sure is. So.
And I'm glad that's how I met you, right through Alan and Jolie. So I remember he hasn't done a Dusty Roads in a while, but and he hasn't found any mud fossils yet, right?
He's been too busy and too occupied.
I don't know when I see you next. Let's antagonize him.
Yeah, we definitely need Dusty to come back. Let Alan get to his passion of wrestling and finding mud fossils.
Well, maybe we should look for a couple mud fossils and see what he and tell him why the hell hasn't he been finding you lately?
Yeah. I just don't know if I have that natural talent. I was
to find mud fossils.
I was a bona fide rockologist, so know how to find the mud fossils.
You find the real ones, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Well, maybe we need to find a real one and then ask him, why he thinks mud fossils compete against this. All right.
Yeah, I look forward to when things slow down for him, so he can get out there and dig up some mud fossils and correct my opinion on what they actually are.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, we know what mud fossils are. Just like straight bullshit.
You don't think that was really a fossil napping turtle head that he found?
I don't even know how to even make that shit up.
I don't either. It's a gift. It's a gift.
It's a tiger tooth, whatever. Yeah. I mean,
that you just can't teach it. You have to be born with it.
Oh no, there's no doubt. There's that, and he enjoys it. Yeah. He enjoys messing with everybody so much.
Oh goodness.
We never.
All right, Jeff. I better get off here. My wife's going to get mad at me. She goes to bed early.
I don't want that to happen. All right. So thanks for coming on, and I will see you soon.
Yep. Look forward to seeing you here in a few weeks. Have a safe trip down, and then give me a shout when you get here, and we'll meet up and enjoy a pour together.
All right. Good night.
All right. Cheers, brother.
All right. Cheers. Let's see. Can you? Oh, there we go. All right, everybody. I want to shout out to a bunch of people. There's Joe Annibal, Mud Ridzuan. Hey man. Falk Trop. He said, I subbed. Where is my shout out? That's nice. Ladu shorts. Good thing. We had a lot of people on tonight. Thanks for watching on YouTube and on Facebook. Who's left on Facebook? Is Walker still with us? I see John Ritt. I hope to see you. I'm going to see you this Sunday. So hopefully you got some guys ready to go. Get me an address. I'll head down there Sunday morning and we'll do what we got to do. It's awesome that the William or the Lillian Sinclair. Yes, it's the Lillian. I got it tonight. And Walker, are you still there? It's been a while since you talked. Let's see, 24 minutes. I wasn't sure. We were just hanging out. The reason why I started hanging out is because I could. And I've got that all saved. And I'm going to cut us off on YouTube first to see what we got. I don't see any comments coming up from the Facebook, so I'll cut us out of Facebook since everybody seems to be off, but hopefully. Let's see what we got here. Close. 4011. That's good. All right. Good night, everybody on Facebook.